Emmett Shear is the CEO of Twitch. It was acquired by Amazon in 2014. He joins us now. Emmett, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Roundtable Decision. I'm your host, Wyatt Birkenhoff, and for today's video, we're going to talk about Twitch again. This is my second video on Twitch, and I'm going to talk about more in depth from what I mentioned on my first video. But before I get into the specifics of the video, I was going to cover what my main topics are going to be over for my future Twitch videos, and it's over their sexual content policy. So obviously we know what sexual violence and exploitation is, and that's going to be any act that is audio or visual that is engaged in sexual acts. And anyone who knows anything about sex knows what sexual acts are, would include prostitution, escort, sexual massages, and filmed sexual activity. So obviously all that is not allowed by Twitch. And filmed sexual activity would include the P word, or porn, for online communities, and I'll get onto that video in the future, but we're not focusing on that. What we're focusing on is sexually suggestive content and nudity and attire. And in this nudity and sexual content in games, we also are going to talk about in my future videos. But the next videos that are coming up, like 2 or 3 more videos than this one, are going to be mainly about sexually suggestive content and nudity and attire. So let's read what Twitch guidelines are for sexually suggestive content. Sexually suggestive content is prohibited. When reviewing this type of sexual content or activity, we will consider its intent and context based on a number of factors, including, but not limited to, behavior and commentary, reaction to content such as chat messages from the broadcasters, moderators, and what chat messages they permit in their community, attire and environment, such as locations and background music, props, etc. Camera framing, angle, and focus. Stream attributes such as title, intros, outros, custom thumbnail, and other media data. Profile on channel content, such as banners, profile image, emotes, and panels. So the big one, what we're going to be talking about in this video, is camera angle, or camera framing, angle, and focus. But real quick, we'll mention briefly about nudity and attire, and then we'll go to the frequently asked questions, where there is a question about that there's not a real dress policy that Twitch has. But we're jumping ahead a little bit. So let's focus on what they have to say about nudity and attire. Streaming is a public activity, therefore we recommend creators wear attire that is appropriate public attire for a given context, intent, or activity. For game streams, most at-home streamers, and profile channel imagery, we recommend attire appropriate for public settings, such as what you would wear on a public street or to a mall or restaurant. For example, for a fitness stream or in real life stream, from a location such as a public beach, attire appropriate to those public contexts is recommended, such as workout clothes, swimsuit, respectively. As noted in the section above, attire is just one factor of what we consider when evaluating reports for potential sexual conduct. Attire intended to be sexually suggestive and nudity are prohibited. Attire or lack of attire intended to be sexually suggestive includes undergarments, immediate apparel, are exposing, focusing on male or female genitals, buttocks, or nipples. So, like I said, we're going to go to one of the frequently asked questions, this one here. Why aren't there any specific rules about what clothing is and isn't allowed on Twitch? As Twitch continues to expand the variety of contexts we feature, so comes the need for updating the range of attire that is acceptable. For example, something that is acceptable for a broadcast at a beach or a gym may not be acceptable for a cooking or gameplay broadcast. In the effort to help creators decide by community guidelines in the same way they would expectations of behavior in the real world. We have updated our policies to reflect that we consider not just the attire itself, but also the contextual setting in which it is worn and the intent of the person wearing it. When moderating content, please remember that sexually explicit or suggestive content such as nudity, exposing, or focusing on genitalia, buttocks, or nipples, and attire intended to be sexually suggestive are prohibited. So the big thing what Twitch goes on is the behavior in a real world are the expectations of what that behavior would be. So they mentioned like the beach where they would allow bikinis as part of your streaming. But that brings a whole nother point of why you would even want to stream at a beach or at a pool. And that's for another video what I might plan on making, but I might combine it with another one. But in particular, I was going to take a brief tour of Twitch itself before we get into the specifics of the video to see if we can point anything out. And yes, Bernie does have a Twitch now. I thought that was kind of ironic. So, like I mentioned in the past video, the big one is the just chatting section or in real life, because Twitch originally was just for gamers. But going into the real life section, occasionally you will see some stuff that is rather weird, and we'll see if we see any. So you see this beach stream here. There's also another beach stream. There's the Bernie. God, I find that funny. Anyway, sorry. You also have just random streamers like this one here. You know, you have body painting, I believe that is. I don't know exactly what that is for. Then you just have your regular like gaming streams or fitness streams. So you're kind of just seeing what the in real life section is, but we're not going to spend too much time on that. I just thought I would show you what is on the platform right now as I'm recording the video, as there can be some very bizarre stuff occasionally, like the beach streams, what I find rather odd. But going to the specifics of the video, for today's video, we're going to talk about dance streamers. So I have this chica named Velvet, and she recently got banned from Twitch for her, I guess you would say, semi-explicit content through what she was wearing. So they banned her on it, and then so it was a short-term ban. So she was able to come back to Twitch, and she's now making videos again. But she was banned on the video she made previously, and as you can see, she's done some more. And these are clips, and clips are shortings of the longer live streams. But you can see how she's doing more of gaming type of videos now. But in the past, she did dance streams, and I have a few clips I was gonna show you here. So you have this first clip here, what I'll just play and let you watch. So obviously I have no idea what she's saying because she is Korean, but she's obviously stretching for a dance which she's about to do, and the clip after it was the dance itself, what I was about to show you in this next clip. But real quick, you can tell by what she's wearing, she isn't necessarily not fully covered. She is fully covered and not necessarily semi-covered like some other streamers you will occasionally see, but she's not leaving much to the imagination. And when she was stretching, she was obviously making sounds that some people would consider to be moaning type of sounds to attract a more male type of crowd. Because let's face it, the people who watch these dancing streams, what I'm showing you, are mainly males. And you can just think a little bit of what they might be doing while they're watching the streamer. None of them are there to learn anything about dancing, let's say. And this was her clip of one of her actual dances, what she did end up doing. And this was her most popular clip before she got banned. And so I'll play that. Okay, like, what is she even doing? Okay, I don't know if she's supposed to follow the ones that are on the right and what they're doing, or I think it's supposed to be like a dancing tutorial, so you're kind of supposed to follow, you know, in yoga, it's like, oh, you do a downward dog, and then you have to do the downward dog. I think that's what that is. But in no way, shape, or form was she actually doing what the other ones were doing, as like a tutorial would be. And then rather the dancing was like, it wasn't dancing. So she is not talented as far as dancing goes. So it makes you wonder, why is she doing a dancing stream? And going to Twitch policies, she is obeying Twitch policies for what they have. But the Twitch policies are rather vague, and it allows for streamers to do this. And although it's fully allowed within the guidelines, it's still rather weird that people would be willing to spend their time to watch someone dance like she was doing. And let's face it, she might have a lot of Asian followers or people that know the language or, enjoy K-pop, because she mainly does K-pop dancers, or K-pop music or whatever you want to say. But the chances are the majority of followers are going to be Americans who are watching it to do as they want. Let's just put it that way. But one of the more famous streamers is this chica named The War Map. Or I think that's her name or whatever. But she does a lot. She streams all the time. And the chances are, if you go on Twitch at any one point, you will see her under the followed or future channels. Obviously, you'll be followed if you're following one of them streamers. But most of the time, she's under the recommended channels because of her massive following she has. And she does ASMR clips and then dancing. Most of the time, it's ASMR, dancing, ASMR, dancing, ASMR, dancing, and then occasionally she's doing like in real life events. And she's only really done in real life events pretty recently as far as what I've researched come to. But I was going to show you a couple of clips of what her type of situation are. So this is a classic dancing stream she does.
I do use an Entertainer's secret vocal spray. It's good stuff. You know about it? Or did you just read about using it?
So obviously she's doing a Just Dance video game dancing thing. And it's all live streamed like you could see. And obviously compared to the first one I showed you, Velvet, she's more fully dressed, even though you can fully see what she's trying to show off or what busing she has received. Anyway, but for more math, you can see that she's much more exposed than the other dancer. And obviously, this doesn't go to just dancing itself, as she's done other things, like I mentioned. And this was one of her most recent clips. Like I said earlier, she's only recently done more like in real life situations, like a lot of beach streamers or golf streamers like this one is. And I've seen a lot of shopping streamers where they're going to shop and then they point out some bizarre stuff grocery stores have, or just their daily grocery shopping. And have, people comment to what they should buy or if they should prank someone or whatever. But this is one of her most recent ones, what has gotten popular. And like I said, these are clips, what are shortening of the larger videos. And you can see the type of crowd what's watching her from this tag, which says that ass. And once we watch the video, you can tell why. So obviously she hit the golf ball and it lost her glasses in the process, as you can see right here. And then she went to bend over to get them, but she rather did it slowly. So it's like, yes, she might have wanted to be careful, as this looks to be Top Golf, I believe. So I might give her that, but my more skeptical mind is thinking that she's rather putting on a show for her followers, because this is the type of crowd what follows her, because they're looking at her for her looks, and they would rather sit at their computer and look at someone than actually go out in real life and date someone or try to watch people who actually live in the real world instead of on their computer. But I guess it's just easier to watch it on the computer. But I don't know. The whole thing is very confusing. But this is the type of people she attracts to her stream. And again, I was just going to show you another one of her clips where this is just her dancing and she doesn't have the 3 one. And this was more from her semi-earlier days of streaming. But as you can just see, she's just does the Just Dance streaming. And she's still in rather like cosplay type of more exposed type of clothes. And although this isn't necessarily bad, like I said earlier, it fits within Twitch's guidelines, but I'm not necessarily arguing about their guidelines itself. I'm more arguing about how Twitch has allowed it to happen necessarily. So it's a rather interesting platform that people can come on and do these dance streams. And they're technically following the rules because they're not doing anything super provocative like other videos and other streamers are doing and other people who I'm going to talk about in future videos. But I wanted to start with the dance streaming videos because it's rather a basic step into Twitch's problem. And they don't necessarily have a problem themselves, but they're on the borderline of it being not acceptable. So then you have this other streamer, and she does a lot of dancing videos as well, and she's more of a dance video all the way type of person, so all she does is dance videos. And as you can see from her videos here, if they ever load, that most of them are dancing streams, at least of lately, like I've said, are fitness streams in general. And she has done a few like YouTube ones where they'll just talk to their fans and watch random YouTube videos. And that's a whole nother conversation because a lot of YouTube big dogs, or big YouTube streamers or YouTube video makers are saying that these Twitch people shouldn't be able to just randomly load things from YouTube of their content without getting credit from it or without getting necessarily attention from it. So they think it's a lot of unfair policy of what Twitch has, but that's not what this video is about, but I thought I would throw that out here. So again, she has more clips of their dancing, and it's the Just Dance as well, I believe, as it looks similar to the Just Dance, or Dance Day, as you can see here. Yeah, Just Dance 2019. And she's following along, and so she's not as explicitly dressed or as the Aurora Math, but she has a little less than the first one, Velvet, I showed you earlier. And although she's not doing anything wrong, she's still following within this dance streamers and dance community. And as I've said already, for the first time, she's following in the guidelines Twitch allows. See here, she's also dancing in the stream. So you can take it as you want, and you can kind of see the theme of what I'm talking about here, because I wanted to start small into what Twitch guidelines allow and that they do these dance streams. But the main focus of it is what type of people these dance streams attach. Because although they're not necessarily new, they're necessarily that explicitly dressed, it's a rather weird crowd it attracts. And isn't necessarily good that the platform has it. And that's what I'm arguing for. So again, you can go to another dance streamer and her clips. And I just wanted to focus on one thing for this streamer, because she does more of cosplay or video game streams or gaming streams than other of these streamers. Because like the last streamer we saw was just focused on dancing itself. But there's another problem what Twitch has, and that's rather what the streamers are willing to do to get attention, to get subs, to get followers, to get money, to get their content liked, to get a subscriber, to get people interested in them. And they're willing to do random things like squats for subs. So if they get a certain amount of subs, they'll do squats right in front. And obviously you can see that she's adjusting her camera and how she's angled in the camera to sexually exploit herself in that way. So obviously in the video you can see that all we can really see is her lower half, and then she adjusted it down even there, so all we can see is just her body without her head. And obviously, if you
Is there a
know
difference?
Google Images or whatever, that's most of the time what you're gonna see.
Is there a
But these
difference?
people are willing to pay money to have someone do what they suggested, or to have them reach that goal of what they suggested. Because the main theme is the angle on which it's presented, because that's what they argue. And that's where dancing has its problems. Because although dancing itself isn't necessarily a sexual act, but the problem what it becomes is that it can be angled in a way to rather be sexual or provoke sexual instincts from their followers. And the average age of the Twitch crowd is younger men, from college age to under. And college age may not necessarily be younger, but that's the type of crowd it attracts. So if you have a gamer who hasn't ever been outside or doesn't want to go outside, they'll be fully willing to go to these clips and give someone money to do squats for them. And that's a problem, because it leads to how this platform makes money, and how these streamers make their money. And you know, you have streamers like a Warmap who's danced more in a not a distressed form, more of a explicit form compared to other streamers, but they're all doing the same sort of thing where they're angling cameras to rather dance in a way to get attention. And that's not necessarily a good thing. But you also have people like Dear Nadia, although her front page of video section or clips look pretty normal, as she's just doing gaming or just talking to her fans, or gaming or talking to her, you know, that's what you just see. You see the common theme between her clips or her longer videos. But then you go on to her more recent clips, and she's rather doing a sexual act. Because when we think of pole dancing, what do you think about? Yeah, you think about pole dancing. I mean, there's no way around that. So she's obviously doing this pole dancing.
Boy, that was sloppy. Don't you hit me with the grip. Man, I timed you out if you.
So again, we don't see the full clip of what she said, but she probably said that she'll time out a fan if he or she, probably he, says something explicit to her or something sexual to her again. So you can kind of see where it's going. But if you're pole dancing and someone's willing to watch you pole dance, what do you think is going to happen? And see, this is kind of the double narrative, because most of the time these streamers, like the first one, Velvet, they got banned for doing what they did, but when they come back, they blame their fans who watch them for sexually exploiting them or having sexual comments towards them. But why are they doing it? Especially if you're pole dancing, what type of comments do you think are going to happen? And this is not the only time she's pole danced, as this is a whole separate time where she did pole dance, and this again is a clip of it, as we can watch. So again, what is her purpose of pole dancing is the main question we need to be asking ourselves. Because if she's wanting followers to do this, then she's getting what she wants. But if she starts blaming her followers for doing pole dancing, and ultimately it's a sexual act, nobody thinks of pole dancing as not a form of a more of a sexual dance, rather than the other streamers where it's more just a random Just Dance stream, what your 6-year-old can do on their Xbox or PlayStation, whatever you buy the game for fun and for entertainment. And so that brings you point to when we saw her regular videos as her gaming videos. You see the pole in the background, and that's where she does her streams. So why does she have the pole there in the first place? It leads to the common theme of what these dance streamers do. It's just they're using their body to get followers and to get subscribers and to get money. And under Twitch guidelines, it's allowed. And some of the dance streamers are doing regular dancing type of material, so they're not necessarily even exploiting the normal rules of what we would think of in society. But other ones are on the borderline of it, and it can bring rather bad input or bad attention to the platform and what it's ultimately for. So again, you have this streamer who does occasionally do paintings, but has recently done a lot of beach streams, as you can see with all her clips. And then more dancing and then drawing, more dancing, drawing, beach stream, more dancing, drawing, video game, beach stream, beach stream, beach stream, dancing, dancing, beach stream, drawing, drawing. You know, it's a lot of, you could see a theme. And this is probably of some event when she was at a club or something. I don't know what that is because it's in Russian. But anyway, long story short. But you can see her actual dance streams as we can watch here. So she does similar to a war map with this 3-person thingy on Just Dance as well. And as you can see, she's more explicitly dressed than some of the other dance streamers we have showed. So obviously when she's dancing like this and showing her size, as you can see here, that is an angle what is showing her body in a full way. So you have dancing streamers and you have your regular streamers where you'll occasionally see the angle where it's aimed down at their blessings or the area what they're most defined with. And a couple of times you'll see streamers what fully are willing to do things like back up on a dance and show their bosom or buttocks, as you would say, and not other parts are bend over towards their front, exposing their blessings they have at the top. So again, even though this streamer doesn't necessarily do it, you can find it on Twitch. And that brings the point of, does Twitch enforce their guidelines? And you can just see this was more a regular clip I saw, but this is one of her more popular clips on her platform. So as I mentioned just there, even though it was technically in the dance, she did bend over on her front to show her top part, as I just stopped by missed there. So you could see it right there where she bent over at her front. And obviously if you get someone who's more explicitly minded or dirty, you would say, he would pause that video there and then whatever, it would go. You can imagine what's going to happen. So that brings the problem, does Twitch enforce its guidelines? Because these streamers would do that, although she's doing beach streams, which isn't any better, or regular video games or drawings, and this is in Russian, so I don't know what any of that stuff is. And as you can see here, she's wanting to get a certain amount of followers to do a cosplay. And anyone who knows what cosplay is, it originally was dressing up to fulfill a character fully, but it's recently, as of a couple years recently, turned into more nudity-based dressing up. So cosplay's turned more into a rather sexual type of art, where you'll see a lot of nudity, you see a lot of body parts within the act of cosplay. And Twitch hasn't necessarily cracked down on cosplay as well, because they're rather letting these dance streamers and other types of streamers do whatever they want on their platform, and that leads to problems. So the next person I'm going to follow you is more of a dance streamer person, I guess, even though I've tried to follow her or I've tried to look at several other videos, and she doesn't really even dance, really, but I guess you can call it a dance. And you can just see some of her talking points, and like she tries to say that she's not a e-girl, but she is. I mean, come on, most of the Twitch people are, and that's kind of a problem in itself. But anyway, back to the focus of the video. So you can see one of her clips here as she's dancing. So again, she's dancing to music and not dancing to like Just Dance video game necessarily. And obviously, I don't even think that that's really a dance. And anybody what knows dancing knows that that's not a true art form of dancing. That is bouncing to hopefully represent what dancing is. And obviously it's bouncing her chest area, and her chest area is something what's considered sexual, or could be considered sexual. So that's how she's gaining fans, by doing something like that, because nobody in their right mind is going to say jumping up and down is a form of dancing. Now, yes, you can jump up and down in the club, but that's a different type of dancing, because if you're going to say that you're dancing for a stream, you would think that would be more than just jumping up and down, because nobody's really going to watch that, but people do watch it, which is its own weird situation as well. And it's not the only time that she has done that, as you can see here. And this time she does have the Just Dance video game. So again, she's in more explicitly dressed clothes than the other streamers, or some of the other streamers we've seen. And obviously through this dancing, you can fully see her chest area. And at one point, she even turned around. Yes, that was part of the video game. But again, she's angling the camera to show her buttocks, which wasn't allowed during the Twitch guidelines. So that brings to the point of why Twitch isn't enforcing their guidelines, because they have been in numerous times in trouble for their lack of guidelines that they enforce. I'm not a fan of censorship or enforcement as YouTube is doing, because YouTube is enforcing voices that are getting suppressed through their political views or through content that YouTube doesn't deem as worthy, even though it is. But rather, I'm more talking about the act that Twitch needs to enforce their guidelines if they want to be a respectable platform and not let other things go on. And these other things I'm going to talk about in my next Twitch videos, as this is a series. And I don't want to really necessarily spoil what my next video is on, but it is a much more focused video on the angles of Twitch guidelines, and that they're not enforcing any of their guidelines at all. Thank you for watching.